Food and Hunger, Chapter 9 Notes. World food. The world's food supply has kept up pace with the population increases. This is due to increases in irrigation, crop variety, fertilizer, and distribution systems. Although our distribution of the world food supply has increased, we still are unable to distribute food properly to the entire world. This means that 850 million people are considered chronically undernourished, even though we have the food to feed them. If you are chronically undernourished, this means that you are eating less than 2,200 kilocalories per day on average. In developing countries, we find about 14% of their residents being considered chronically undernourished. The world food supplies are sufficient to provide a daily diet of 2,800 kilocalories per day, so essentially there should be no chronically undernourished people if food was distributed properly. Food security. Food security is the ability to obtain sufficient food on a day-to-day basis. 1.5 billion people cannot afford food. This then leads to 60% of premature deaths worldwide. These deaths are usually considered in small children and infants. 95% of chronically undernourished people live in developing countries. Food security can increase in these areas when the acknowledgement of women's roles in the home contributing to family nutrition. This means when women are living in the home and are creating home gardens that then allow the families to eat. Famine. Famine is large-scale food shortages, massive starvation, social disruption, and economic chaos. Famine can be caused by two different types of things. The first is natural disasters, such as droughts, earthquakes, and severe storms. The second is political and economic unrest. When a famine ends, productivity capacity has usually been sacrificed. Sometimes this is because of a natural disaster that has wrecked an area, and other times because the resources were needed to be used to help prevent major deaths during the famine. This means that it takes longer to recover from a famine even after the situation that caused the famine has left the area. Overeating. Daily diets based on highly processed, sugar and fat-rich foods lead to overeating and overweight and obesity. Obesity is when you are severely overweight. This would be 20% above the ideal weight. In the US, 1/3 of the population is considered obese and 64% is considered overweight. Food insecurity can lead to being overweight in developing countries and developed countries as well because of a lack of good quality food. When you are overweight, there are increased risks of hypertension, diabetes, heart attacks, stroke, gallbladder disease, osteoarthritis, respiratory problems, and cancer. Food deficiencies. There are several food deficiencies that we will look at. The first and main one is malnourishment. This means any nutritional imbalance caused by a lack of dietary components or the inability to utilize essential nutrients. Anemia is specifically an iron deficiency, and this happens to be the most common nutritional problem. Other nutritional problems include protein deficiencies and low-calorie deficiencies. Key food types. In crops, we look at three major key foods: wheat, rice, and maize and corn. Other crops we find are regional staples depending on crop growth in that area. Vegetables and fruits are major food sources for many people. Meat consumption has increased while daily production and consumption has decreased over time. Confined animal feeding operations are where animals are housed and fed for rapid growth. This has allowed for our meat consumption to increase. Additionally, seafood is a main animal protein for many, but at the risk of overharvesting and habitat destruction. Aquaculture, which is growing aquatic species in pens or tanks, allows for a greater consumption and production of seafood. The Green Revolution. This is the crop increase that has been obtained from new varieties of plants spread around the world. We create high-yielding crop hybrids that, when given appropriate levels of fertilizer, water, and pest protection, can grow in many areas and at a high rate. The focus on these crops are with wheat, corn, and rice, so that we can grow these and more efficiently feed people in different areas. Genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is when we remove genetic material from one organism and splice it into the chromosomes of another. We call these organisms with added DNA genetically modified organisms, or GMOs. Added genes improve crop yield, resistance, tolerance to unfavorable conditions, or can supplement protein and vitamins into a crop. This means that we could be reaching more people with healthier foods from the staples that they can grow in their local area. Some people are against GMO crops because it becomes a risk of being a pest or invasive species. Also, we don't know any unknown health risks, such as new allergies that could be caused by GMOs.